couldn't out Gavaska at all, not at all. You know the West Indies couldn't out Gavaska at all. Venkataraghavan, Bedi in a turban, Vijay Jaishima, Jayantilal. They helped to win the series against the West Indies at Sabina Park and Queen's Park Oval. 158 by Ganai really sent our hopes up high. Noriega 9 for 95, the Indian team they still survive. It was Gavaskar, the real master, just like a wall. We couldn't out Gavaskar at all, not at all. You know the West Indies couldn't out Gavaskar at all. Janjurani, Solka Abidali, Dilip Sadesai and Vishwanath. They make West Indies bowlers look like second raters when those fellows came out here to bat. West Indies tried holder and keep voice. They had no other choice. They even tried with Newton Dow, but a shot and they're sorry they bring him now. It was Gavaskar, the real master. Like a wall, we couldn't out Gavaskar at all, not at all. You know the West Indies couldn't out Gavaskar at all. Desmond Lewis, also Charlie Davis, they take a little shame from out we face. But Sobers as a captain, he won plenty coaching before we cricket end up in a disgrace. Beatty here that he became a father, he catch out whole hog in the cover. But when Sobers here, he too had a son, he made duck and went back in the pavilion. It was Gavaskar, the real master. Just like a wall, we couldn't out Gavaskar at all, not at all. You know the West Indies couldn't out Gavaskar at all. You know the West Indies couldn't out Gavaskar at all. You know the West Indies couldn't out Gavaskar at all.
Welcome to the third umpire. Big up to my umpires wherever they are, Mr. Matheson. Yes, Mr. Matheson, Mr. Rollocks, Mr. Moya, and the other umpires. This afternoon I will be opening the order. We expect to be joined again, and we're going to have a powerful hour. Good afternoon to my heart, point 14. Happy birthday. We still celebrating. We're coming off the high of the Borough Week celebrations. Big up Port of Spain, big up Trinidad and Tobago, the Caribbean, the whole world. Yes, man. So this afternoon, we want to steer the conversation towards the economic situation in Trinidad and Tobago. And I would, firstly, some people are of the opinion, and they might be right, that, we are in a tough economic spot. And if we look around, a lot of people who are accustomed doing all right from a business perspective, they're not doing so well right now. In addition, we have so many people who have been displaced as the political tide has changed, especially a lot of lower income workers, and of course the knock-on effect of that throughout the economy. And many people asking themselves, between forex and industrial slowdown, all sorts of industries being affected, what do I do next? How am I going to navigate prosperity in Trinidad and Tobago that at least emotionally feels bleak? And as somebody who works in the financial field, I work heavily within the financial field in terms of forming multinational companies, assisting local companies to put certain things in place in terms of banking and structuring and tax and all those sorts of things. There are many people who do not believe that they have the ability to compete and to prosper, whether as an individual or as a business owner, as an aspiring business owner in this particular economic space and this particular economic time. And I want to use the platform this afternoon to encourage a conversation on how people go about securing their economic future and their career future in seemingly bleak space. So one of my great concerns in my career in the financial field has been that when it comes to how to go about making financial moves, it's a matter of if you know, and if you don't know, you don't know. And there are groups. They may not be race groups, they may be family groups, they may be social settings, whatever the case is, for whom financial education and financial strategy and financial literacy, they learn that in the cradle, and as they grow, they see it in action. And there are certain members of our society or groupings within our society. In many cases, those people look like me. Afro Trini from Point Fortin. And I don't know if they teach Afro Trinis from Point Fortin financial literacy. Definitely don't teach it in schools. And if you're not around circles to be exposed to financial literacy, well, you might be out of luck. So let's start with the start. How do we go to getting a good financial and career foundation for ourselves? Now the purists, they say save 3 months salary. And one of the problems that many people face in terms of getting that momentum going is how do you save when cost of living is pretty high and salaries tend to be low. So I can't remember the source of it right now, but I do remember seeing some research from the Central Statistical Office, I believe. I can't cite exactly where to find it. That stated that the median salary in Trinidad and Tobago is $6,000. And that is, at the time that I heard that statistic, I was pretty blown away. Because, in many cases, we can't imagine somebody living or operating on less than $6,000 or less than $5,000. But then when you really think about it, unless you happen to be in a particular sector or you happen to be a a civil servant of a particular standing, quite a bit of people are within that bracket. And when we look at the cost of rent, we look at the cost of a home, we look at the cost of groceries, we look at the cost of a whole lot of things, we realize that many people who have not unlocked that strategy for leveraging money, building bankability, building liquidity, they're stuck in an uncomfortable place, and it's a lot of people. So, in terms of that start, the purists say, save, and the saving is tough. Now, I here to say, nothing worth doing is necessarily easy. And I am here to reinforce that that first trust towards having a certain amount of money saved is absolutely critical to breaking that cycle of not enough money. And I hope that people can, and that's the first thing I want to invite some people to call in to do, to share some strategies that they may have used or employed for savings. And some things are old, and I'll share something. This is Mother's Day weekend. Both my mother and my grandmother have gone on to the next place. And both my mother and my grandmother taught me a lot. So, my grandmother taught me that she used to have some bamboo tubes in her home. And back then they used to spend cents. So she used to put a tube for everything that she wanted to achieve within the house. And every time she saved on a transaction, whether it be groceries or market or something, she get change from something, she put a cent in the corresponding bamboo tube. And over time, she was able to accumulate different things in the different bamboos that enable her to do the things in the household that she wanted to do, which is a very old school way of saving. And also it is a way that, of course people have bank accounts in the general sense, but I think in my grandmother's age, and even surprisingly now, there are a lot of people who do not trust banks or do not utilize banks. There are a lot of people still doing their saving at home physically. So, coming forward again, I would say, in this particular timing, the bank and the credit union are actually fantastic mechanisms by which somebody could get a financial head start. Discipline is the problem. And sometimes when you think about something that you want to do or something that you absolutely have to do, getting that habit of holding back and you personally putting in money into savings and not touching it, for some people it's difficult. I would suggest to people, and I would say that, that a particular banker, I can't remember his name now, young fella growing up in Point Fortin. And I went to see the gentleman about a loan. I didn't want a loan to do anything in particular, could I just do it some money. And he told me, young man, here what I want you to do. I'm going to give you $20,000. You are going to give me back the said $20,000, and we're going to keep it in the bank for you. You pay the loan. And in my mind, 22 years you're trying to get me to take a loan for you to keep the money. You ought to be talking madness. You're trying to outsmart me. It's only that later in my entrepreneurial journey and on my business journey and my professional journey, I started to meet people. Hey, there's a caller. 1 second. Good afternoon. Good
Good,
afternoon. Welcome to the third
good
umpire.
afternoon. Thank you, and good afternoon to your listeners. I like the topic that you're dealing with this afternoon, because it is important that people educate themselves as it relates to their finance and how they treat with it.
Indeed.
Um, I don't expect nothing different, as you would have revealed previously that you was an insurance agent at some time,
Yes.
and yes, discipline is a lot of times what is lacking, and persons understanding the type of sacrifice that is required from them in order to enjoy some level of financial freedom. I like how you point out that emergency fund of a minimum of 3 months' salary that someone needs to put aside. But I think more persons need to understand that savings ought to be in the same category that you have your bills. I know it will be difficult for many people because of inflation, the cost of living, but they need somebody to sit down with them to really give them a clear picture of the reality and what will happen if they do nothing. Because that is the position plenty people find themselves in today. Because your or your lifestyle or whatever getting by is so expensive, you barely have anything to save. So they might just squander it out watching it as nothing. But it is important that people understand the sacrifices that they need to make in order to achieve whatever goal they have for themselves. Right? I like how you speak about life insurance the last time, because I don't think plenty people understand the advantage that it gives to you. The mere fact that you have no bearing on when or what time um, certain events might occur in your life. You should take advantage of the opportunity to have a peace of mind knowing that this thing will work for the benefit of yourself and your family, so that, as I say, the cycle will be broken at some point. But I like the program, and I hope the people who need to hear are listening. But it is imperative that persons treat savings the same way that you treat your bills, so that you don't leave savings as a last resort. You understand? But that is my contribution. Thanks for allowing me.
Caller, I appreciate you so much and I'm wishing you all God's greatest blessings, God's choicest blessings, and may you not only prosper in material but prosper in health and prosper in wealth. I don't want to treat my savings as a bill. And I will give you where I'm coming from with this in the little time that I have with you all today. I deal with advanced wealth generation and business development strategies and services. And I either work for the very, very, very most successful people in Trinidad and Tobago or the most ambitious, depending on the day that you ask. And in that world, where people are routinely making what many would consider a fortune in a day, it's the same Trinidad and Tobago we living in, where people sometimes having problems with their basic things, with their meals, with their bills, etc. And I mean, I am by no means in my final form where I could say, hey, I have nailed it, I have gotten it right, and I am as wealthy as I want to be. I am a work in progress, but you need to start. And I have started. I've started a minute now. I've made some progress. And there are people under the sound of my voice this afternoon who have not started. So in this afternoon, and this is the danger that the other umpires will create for Trinidad and Tobago, because on the days that they're not here with me for us to talk about crime and politics and current affairs and these kind of things, you're probably going to find this umpire talking about money in some of the more everyday ways, and on other days in very advanced ways. Anything I could do to put anybody up on the game of life, that I am learning from my clients, or because I know something that I learned in a class, or I know something that I've learned on the grind. I am here to share it because I want people to do well. I want people to do better than they're doing now. So back to the story of the bill. Your gap, your number one job, if your aim is to become wealthy at some point, Trinidad Tobago world, is you have to engineer a gap between what you make and what you spend. And the gap is going to be the thing that engineers the change in your, or executes the change in your life. If it is that you're spending more than you make, or you're spending and you're making on par, you're not going to be able to move. And for people who are serious about not being in that, oh God, it sounds terrible, in that hand-to-mouth space, a space I know all too well, or being in that deficit space, you have to get aggressive about that gap. You have to create that gap by any means necessary, and you have to create that surplus bit by bit. And you have to remember that in that life where you cannot miss a paycheck, if something goes wrong and you miss a paycheck, your whole plan falls apart. So that is why it's important to have that quote-unquote rainy day fund. It's why it's important also to have the right kind of insurance. I don't want to make this entire insurance pitch, but suffer to be so. Everybody who say they don't believe in insurance, insurance is not religion. Insurance is a contract between you and an insurance company for them to pay for the risk of your life going wrong. It only makes sense to use it. Just saying. So, we have to create that gap. And you know what? As much as your bills are critical, creating that surplus, that starting point from which you're going to build and generate wealth, is the formative step. And the people who never do it, or the people who break their savings to do silly things. Like I remember, I started to save many times in my 20s. And there's a reason I'm not a gazillionaire in my 40s. I'm doing all right, but I ain't there yet. You know how much times I break my little savings to go 2-3 party? How much time I go and dip in my savings because that shoe's looking nice? Mistakes that young people in the 20s make. We could have go out and drink White Oak, but we want to go out and drink Johnny. We could have not drink at all. Drink some water. Nah, boy, we're drinking the best. We are out here today. And these are the mistakes that we continue to see people making in that accumulation phase of life, when they could be stacking up some money and putting certain things in place so that they can make moves. They have room. They blow the money on things that don't really last. So I want to plant that in our head, that we have to engineer that gap, and sometimes we could use the credit union or the bank to accelerate that. So I want to introduce and tell anybody who banker telling them it's excellent advice. Take a loan at the bank, keep the money. Take a 10,000, tell the bank you hold the money, I'll pay the loan when the money comes. Because two things happening at the same time. You have $10,000 in the bank that you just have to pay off. The interest is negligible. At the end of you paying off that loan, you will have $10,000 in the bank. And in addition, the bank is going to watch you like, you just paid a loan well. What can we do for you? There are many people who, for instance, having difficulty obtaining a car. There are many people. Up to this morning, I was in a meeting at the bank with a banker concerning a client. And they told me, Gerard, we want to help this person, but we can't. The financials telling one story and the deposits telling another. People making good money and they're not depositing the money in their accounts. Good financial and good banking habits are the things that open the doors
When you see somebody driving around in a Benz, a nice car, do other be a Benz, living a particular lifestyle, that is some of their choices. And sometimes when you see sometimes people just have bad luck. Things go left, things didn't go their way. It's happened to me, it's happened to other people. But some people are living in their bad choices. And I want to encourage anybody and everybody who hearing me, whether you're 60, whether you're 6. If you're hearing me right now, today is the first day of the rest of your life. And until it is time to go and meet your maker, there is absolutely an opportunity to create the life that you want. So we getting past savings and how to treat with savings. And I want to say something else now that may not be the most favorable thing, but for some people. But I am a great believer in it. Let's say that you are one of those people working for $5,000 a month. And you spent 3 years saving up $15,000 by whatever means. Whether you took a loan and you left it in the bank, whether you put it in Granny Bamboo, whether you put it in the credit union, however you did it, you have 15 grand. Big up to the credit union movement, guys. Do not sleep on your credit union. Your credit union is there to make you richer. Work with your credit union, support your credit union. Those institutions are underutilized as financial empowerment vehicles. Big up to my personal credit unions, big up to Eastern, big up to Venture, big up to the Central Finance Facility who has been kindly supporting us over the years. Big up to our former clients within the credit union movement. I don't want to call the name too hard, but they know themselves. The credit union movement is fantastic. You save that $15,000, guys. Don't leave it there doing nothing. This is the next thing that I have to say. If you are interested in becoming wealthy and you do not have a business, and when I say a business, I discourage people from becoming sole traders. Generally speaking, it's not to say that people don't succeed being them. There are several distinct disadvantages. One of the disadvantages I am least appreciative of in the sole trader formation, a sole trader doesn't really exist. If you die, you cannot leave your sole trader to somebody else. You are the company is you. So apart from all the risk and any inefficiency when it comes to accounting, any inefficiency when it comes to assets, etc., 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 inefficiency when it comes to tax, it is a terrible generational wealth tool. Can leave a sole trader to your child. You can maybe leave the assets that you accumulated through your business to your child, but you can't leave your business to your child. Your business has a value and it's a limited liability company. It's its own entity in law. We'll talk all about that another day. So, let's say you form a Trinidad and Tobago limited liability company. Or maybe you come to us and you form a United States limited liability company or a United States corporation. Maybe you form a corporation, and that is getting into the advanced stuff. You form a corporation in Panama, you form a corporation in the UAE or the UK, Jamaica, wherever you want to do business. But you start right here in Trinidad and Tobago, and you have $15,000 capital, guys. Now, I have all kind of experience in life. Early on in my entrepreneurial journey, when I was just trying things, I used to go in the wholesale market in Macoya with my girlfriend at the time, Adwagan, that she used to call Ali. Big up my ex-girlfriend, wherever you are. Good afternoon, ma'am. And I used to go there 3 times a week with $2,000. My money was small. Every time I go in the market, I make nothing less than $1,000. And there are guys now who every week they're putting out $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. So that can tell you the kind of money they're making. And they're not pushing with a little 80 wagon. They're pushing with a full-size truck. Sometimes they have men on the street, 3-4 men buying for them and selling back later on, whether it's retail, whether it's other wholesale, etc., etc., etc. The fact that they have $1 means that they could cash and carry something and make a profit. And many of those guys, because I got to know them over time, they come in 2 o'clock in the morning to do the wholesale market. And they on work by 7. The grind doesn't change. And the capital is growing week on week, day on day. They're doing what they're doing. So in the same space where we're wondering, and there are 2 types of how, you know. When you tell people, think and grow rich, work and grow rich, save and grow rich, some people say, but how, boy? Like they vex. Like, what do you mean? And I have some other people who like, how? Like, how you doing it? How they doing it? They have a curious spirit. They're willing to try. And based on that, what you're doing today, you mightn't be doing tomorrow, you mightn't be doing next week. But you're learning lessons and you're growing capital. So I would say, as a step, for the person who wondering how to bridge the gap from where they are now to where they want to be, let's say 10 years from now. That is that middle ground. Have your company, do your deposits, make up your money that you're doing could do something with and start to do it, and you could do anything. Sell a phone, sell a car, sell some market, fry some doubles, make some pie. Big up too. So we are the street here, we are on Marval. My spouse works lower down the street. Many of my clients and colleagues are around this area, so I'm in the Port of Spain, Newtown area quite often. And there's a couple that sells in front of the side of TTT out of the trunk of again a 80 wagon. Maybe the 80 wagon is the hustler's vehicle. And every morning you could get a scrumptious chana pie, or you could get a bacon tuna, a bacon saltfish, a bacon cheese, etc. And every morning they sell out. From 6 to about a little after 8, they sell breakfast out of the trunk, and it's delicious and they are well patronized. So the key in it is, for those who are not there, embrace the entrepreneurial spirit. Put your little bit of money to work and grow your income. But be very careful to structure a company. And this is the defining problem for the people who are up there and further along in their business journey. You didn't structure your company correctly early enough. You wasn't pretending to a relationship with the bank early enough. And you put your money and your bankability into liabilities and not assets. First time you start to get a little cash flow, you jump out yourself and you buy a nice car. To impress, I guess, young ladies who are impressed by nice cars. Or maybe it's just because you like it. I don't know. But the bottom line is, at that stage in life, and I hope that my words fall in on either some parents who could talk to their kids or some people who are young enough to put time to work where effort may be able to may not work as effectively. Because if you start this cycle in your 20s, you are almost invariably going to succeed. The older you get, the less you could depend on time, and the more you have to depend on home runs. Which cricket we're talking about, you have to depend on 6. Because the over is running low, and you had to open your hand. Sometimes you had to swing harder, you had to take some chances. Yeah? So time is your friend. It's never too late, but time is your friend. So I encourage in that next step, start the business. And when I say start the business, register the business, or I should say incorporate the business. Open your business bank account. Use any little cash you have to begin to grow. Don't spend $1 on nothing. Don't rent no place or do. You buy low and sell high. Whatever you're buying low, buy it low. Whatever you're selling high, sell it high, and put your money back in. So the bank could see you. Because once the bank could see you, your next move, whether as a family, whether as an individual, and I will be closing with that when I'm squeezing in my last few minutes of this show. I'll be closing on how it is that we could engage in group economics to reach that different space. Guys, I would say that a key acquisition, and it has fallen out of favor over the years. I see people willing to spend a lot of money on small apartments. They're studying security, where are going to live. And that's super important. But I would suggest to people that land become a key acquisition. Because land gives you the opportunity for capital appreciation, of course. Land also gives you the space in which you can later on develop somewhere to live or somewhere to earn, somewhere to plant, a place, a real estate, a place for you to do the things that you have to do. So I would say that while most people are probably not in a position to purchase a home in the way homes are being sold at the moment. From our work in real estate, we know that the market is a little depressed now, but for a sensible home, you still have to put out a little north of $1 million. For a nice home, you have to put it in a little south of $2 million. For a really nice home, 2, 3, 4, 5 going up the road. And for many people, that is a fantasy. That's not a reality. But I would suggest to everybody who is listening to me that they should go and speak to the banker. Despite whatever you feel you have or you don't have, go and have a conversation with that banker. Even if you know you're not going to get a yes, we're going to lend you money. Ask them, what would it take for you to buy me a house and how much I will have to bring in? How much the installment would be? Information is ammunition. You can plan if you have information. Sometimes parents, if it has a parent on the line, sometimes you have to take your little daughter, your little son who work in KFC or working in the hardware and say, let's go and talk to a loans officer. No, I'm getting a call. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Third Umpire.
Yes, good afternoon again. I just wanted to come back in again because I understand the sentiments with going to the bank, but I have a different approach. Maybe because I have the discipline that the bank does take advantage of when you don't have it, is why I really kind of stay away from the bank. But the bank, in my opinion, is not really for our benefit in general, but it takes advantage of the fact that you are indisciplined. So it have measures in place to assist you, but it might be at a cost that, how to pay it, boy, it might be ridiculously high or more than you really need to put out. But that is the cost of not having discipline.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's the same thing with taking out a retirement plan. For instance, so you save up $1 million and you buy a retirement plan. Mm-hmm. You're receiving your $5,000 to $7,000 for the rest of your life, but at the end of that period, then the asset stays with the company, the $1 million. But if you have the discipline to invest your money in something that will give you that return on your passing, the asset stays with your family, mm-hmm. right? So but as they rightfully point out, if you don't have the discipline, you might need to use the structure of the bank. It would cost you a little bit more as opposed to somebody who have the discipline But my thing is, I always look towards credit union for that financial support or backing as opposed to a bank. I just only use a bank when I really need to, have to. But if I didn't need to, I wouldn't be in any relationship with any bank because they are there to make money ultimately, and they sort of abuse the fact that they know some people are indisciplined in their ways, so they just take advantage of you. And it's not just the bank alone. Any structure that sees you are a disciplined human being will work on that to benefit themselves. In the same way that a number of places just rise up the price and we continue to consume, whether it's KFC or what have you, and we just take whatever is dished out to us. But the key thing, as you say, is people disciplining themselves and making sacrifices that will ultimately be to their benefit. But I must say I love this topic that you lead the program with today. Thanks for allowing me.
Well, sir, what I want to ask you to do, because we have 15 minutes in the show again, and I'm going to dedicate the last 5 minutes of this show to the power of group economics. And at exactly 5 to 6, I would like you to call back and let's close the show together on that conversation there, because there is something very good that I want to dissect. And I want to promise you that every week I will dedicate a day and guide the conversation when allowed to by the other umpires towards the issues of financial inclusion and group economics. But we'll talk about that just now. So we're coming off, and please call me back. I'll be happy if you do.
No problem.
And I want to take what our caller there is sharing. There are two sides to it, and it depends on what your goals are. And according, if you have one set of goals, stay far from the bank. If you have another set of goals, make the bank your indentured servant. And I want to put that out there. I can't dissect it properly in 10 minutes, but I'm putting it out there. You can absolutely make the bank work for you. You could game the bank when you understand the game. And the same Trinidad and Tobago. You know what my banker partner tell me? He said, Gerald, at the end of the day, if I do $20 million a month, I'm looking for a job, you know. I need people to be able to handle the stories because that's how I keep my job. Take that for what it's worth. So, the heart of that last stage there is get your business going so you can get multiple streams of income. Buy your property. Invest in assets. And assets, forget any other definition. Assets is what puts money in your pocket. A liability is what takes money out of your pocket. So some people, for instance, might believe their home is an asset. Your home is not necessarily an asset. Your home is an asset when it puts money in your pocket. When it's taking money out of your pocket, your home is a liability. Your home is a cost. But somewhere to live is always a cost. The key is to become financially literate. And for some people, I just talk absolute shippiness and madness there. What you mean my home is not an asset? And there are some people who understand exactly what I just said. And those are... And I don't want to have it as black and white, as financially literate and not yet financially literate. I would say that we have to get an even playing field. And every day when I listen to this umpire show, I hear people speak about or call attention to the fact that there's a disparity between black and everything else. There's a negative self-image, even among our own community. And then people within our community point out, but look, there's a double standard here. Hey, look, there's another double standard here. We have a problem here, we have a problem here. And one of the things we need to normalize, this is for everybody regardless of race, but it's important for the black people like myself to normalize talking about money.
Normalize talking about business. Normalize talking about generational wealth. Normalize talking about insurance. Normalize. Good afternoon to my good friends at JMME Investments, who has made it very easy for people to begin to invest in the stock market. And we have one of the most lowly subscribed stock exchanges just about anywhere. For some reason, that don't compute to us. It's picking up, but slowly. These are all wealth generational tools. And we have to be concerned not only about how comfortable and how well we live while here for this little bit of time that God grants us, whatever, by whatever name we call God. We are here for a time and we try our best to enjoy it and not be unhappy. Too many of us miserable. And too many of us miserable when we could roll up our sleeves and put in the work and live an abundant life and live life grateful instead of bitter. And it's never too late, guys. One of the richest people in Norway, I believe his name is Utav Oleg. Utav arrived in Norway in his 60s with no money, barely spoke the language. Utav is within the top 20 wealthy people in Norway right now in his 90s. Yeah? So I want to suggest to everybody under the sound of my voice, guys, it's not too late to make that impact and live that life. Take those trips, do those things, have those experiences that you want to have. Do not give up on yourself. Believe in yourself and do what you need to do. So it is now 5:48, about to be 5:49. So I want to take the last few minutes of the show today to touch on group economics. And this is where the issue of the credit union becomes critical. If that caller calls back to tell us about his experiences in the credit union, I would welcome that call. Guys, where one person may not be able to reach, 2 or 3 people could reach. You know what? You alone mightn't be able to do something, but you have a brother, sister, and a cousin. And all you could fight or collaborate on just about anything. It's never a problem to bubble a pot. It's a problem to make an investment. Where one person can buy a property, 2 and 3 people could buy a property and put it to sensible use. You have some land somewhere, we could sit down on a Sunday and watch football. Or we could go out on the field and plant up something. You don't want to be out there everybody thing. Buy a bottle, bubble a pot, plant out some cedar. In 15 years, that is money. If you never look back. We have to begin to think about how group economics can work. How we could pool resources and pool money. Pool opportunities. Make sure that people within our ecosystem. Somebody have a waka, brother, come and waka my yard. It's not that you can't do it for yourself, you know. But you want that person to be a viable part of your network. So if you can help that person to build out their business, by all means do it. And one of the silent partners in this journey for equity and wealth development has been the credit union movement. The credit union movement has been knocking at this door and standing in the gap for the underbanked and the unbanked and the marginalized in this country and elsewhere, like forever. So anybody who's not a member of a credit union, not active in the credit union, not putting their little pennies in their bamboo, like Eldika used to do. Rest in peace, Granny, on this Mother's Day weekend. That is a good place to put your pennies, because they will give you a premium in terms of your borrowing in that space in which you are. Welcome again, sir.
Yes, you want me to call back?
Yeah, well, we talking your baby here for the last few minutes, so I say let me invite you here. So tell us about your experiences with the credit union movement and why you prefer it from the bank to the bank.
I prefer the credit union because, in my estimation or opinion, they operate or address your concerns in a much more satisfactory way than the bank institutions, right? And the thing about it, one of the things that I apart from some bad experiences with the bank, and I think one of the things is one of the clauses that they have when you open in their accounts. I can't remember the exact figure, but if something is to happen to the bank, you have signed a document that says that they are only going to give you either 125 or 175 as a maximum, in terms of giving you back your money if the bank crashes, no matter if you have 1 million, 10 million. And I find that disturbing, especially in the face of they making all this extreme profits. Why you have this such low figure if you crash and mismanage my funds? You understand? And the thing is, the credit unions have different guidelines, to follow, as opposed to the banking institutions, right? It have certain mechanisms that they have to follow in terms of how they invest the money, what amount of money they could invest in certain things, whether it's a moderate fund or aggressive fund. You know, the structure is just different. And as I say, it is more customer friendly, right? In my opinion, right?
No, and
I say,
and I will tell you why it is. Remember that you are not there as a customer; you're there as a member and an owner.
Yes.
Yes.
Because you will have to share your savings and whatever else.
Yes. So here we're going on. We have 57 seconds in this show again, sir. And I appreciate you for making my maiden umpire session by myself to be very good. I'm glad that you participated and kept me company. I'm giving you the next 20 seconds to give Trinidad and Tobago a message about becoming wealthy. What's your wealth development message for Trinidad and Tobago and the world?
Well, we're glad that you're here. Is a good addition to the program. Trinidad and Tobago, with this financial message I can give to all you, boy. Check our insurance agent, check our financial advisor, and have a discussion that will benefit yourself, your family, or your business.
Okay, amen to that. Guys, that's our show, that's our time. Have a great evening, and thank you again for joining us.
And so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the street 919 FM.
Friday is for feasting. Fantastic Fridays. 5 pieces of chicken and 3 sides for just $89.95. Big value for the whole lime. Weekends start right. It must be KFC. Order now. Follow KFC Trinidad and Tobago WhatsApp channel for all the deals.
There's some advice when you hear it.